That one worked. Testing, 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 testing. Oh, there it goes. I saw the green line there. All right.
Believe we're alive, Bob. Just trying to figure out where
What's that?
of all the sound that I was trying to put through to make it sure it was coming through.
Oh,
I can hear it on my
I
end.
can hear you now. I can hear you now. Cool. All right. Good. I was trying to make sure it wasn't my mic because I was going, hey, but then I saw the green line start to appear. Okay, cool. Good stuff. Is it cold up there this morning? What are you wearing, a
This
hoodie?
is actually probably the warmest it's been. Last night was warm. It's the warmest I've been in Southern Oregon. So, how about where you're at?
Wow. It's hot.
Okay.
We've had there was like 7 straight days of rain. It was like Noah was coming down the street. I mean, they had flooding in the town that we go to for like grocery stuff.
Wow.
So I was surprised actually because I was there like 2 days later, didn't see a sign of flooding. I was there for the farmer's market, just down in downtown Sanford. And so, but yeah, it got pretty, apparently it got pretty deep. So cars floating down the road.
That's crazy. I didn't even hear about that. I hope everybody's all right.
Yeah. I think so. I think I didn't hear about too many like real tragedies or anything out of the deal.
Good.
So, thinking, maybe some real estate did some damage, but yeah, things are replaceable.
Well, what are we talking about today, Bob? What's on the agenda for
today? We are talking. We can just sum it up in one word: abide. Abide. Yeah, if you abide in love, you abide in God. God is love. Yeah, a lot of meat on that one passage, that one scripture. So, and even there's a lot of meat even in the word abide. When you look at the word abide, you have to really break that down. Words that were used in this vernacular and in this book, that depending on where you're at, where you reside, they can have some very different meanings. So, yeah, I want to kind of cover that. Really dive into that. Yeah. What are we singing about today, Jennifer? Oh, am I on? Oh, yes, I am. It's solo too. Oh my gosh. Well, hey, welcome to Ascension Healing Fellowship. That's awesome. That is awesome. We do everything live. We do like to do everything off the cuff. So, good stuff. Great stuff. Hey, I hope you had a great week. I hope you grew in faith. Every single moment of challenge and hurt and pain and difficulty, it's there to grow us in faith. It's there to grow us in the idea that there's something bigger outside of ourselves. And today we're going to talk about where that something exists and where that something abides. We're going to really dive into the word abide. Just from a tertiary look, the word abide means to act in accordance with. To act in accordance with. We're going to dive into that meaning and what that meaning means really specifically to us as spiritual beings in a human experience. But what we want to start with today, as we start with every time, is to really begin to bring in a sense of stillness, a sense of being laying down beside that quiet stream, in that green valley, in that protected space, in that resting. As we talked about last week, we talked about resting. What are we resting in? We're resting in the unknown. We're resting in the unknown. Remember, the one time that Jesus got upset, really upset, I'm talking like not just a little bit, was when people were trying to tell people that they can't rest until they do, instead of resting in being. There's a huge difference there. And again, we're going to dive into that more every week. But here's some key points to always remember before we start meditation. Number one, the breath is my ally. The breath is the strongest ally you have. Win, lose, draw, No matter who loves you, who hates you, as long as you have the breath, you have an ally, because that's what's keeping you alive in the physical realm. You will be invariably you will have monkey mind. So let me cover what monkey mind is. Monkey mind is, oh, that thought. Oh, wait a minute, what am I doing later? Oh, what about that thing that happened yesterday? Oh my gosh, I gotta call them. Because they probably feel on and on and on. Number one, with monkey mind, don't feel shame, don't feel guilt, don't beat yourself up. As soon as you recognize it, just come back to the breath. Just come back to that ally. That ally is waiting to embrace you. That ally is waiting to hold you. Now, I will tell you this too with monkey mind. The second thing you need to know, outside of don't have shame, is that usually monkey mind is a sign that you need to embrace that little you inside that's hurt. The first thing I'll do when I start to see a whole lot of monkey mind going by, like I did this morning actually because of some stuff from yesterday, is I'll say, little Bob, what do you need right now? What do you need, little Bob? Come on up in my arms, little Bob. Let me hold you. Let me just hold you. Let me just embrace you. Let me let you know that it's all good. All things are working together for good. Even those that really challenge you. Especially those, actually. I saw this really great movie called The Life of Pi. If you haven't seen it, you really should watch it. But in the first part of the movie, he said, doubt is one of the most useful spiritual tools. Doubt is good for us. And I want you to think about that, especially as we talk more about growing in faith. The next thing I want you to remember, outside of don't go into the shame cycle, and remember that this is probably a sign that you need to embrace the little hurt you inside. The next one is just come back to the breath. You've got to train yourself not to beat yourself up. You have to train yourself to not live in the past. And oh, by the way, the word that I just said is the past. I hope you begin to see that. I hope you begin to live in that awareness, because that's a beautiful point. So, the first breath in that we take when we get into our meditation today is, may I abide today in perfect love. May I abide today in perfect love. Breathe in, may I abide today. Breathe out in perfect love. I'm just going to close my eyes. May I abide today in perfect love. May I abide today in perfect love. And keep doing that for a few cycles. You don't have to say it out loud, but run that through your mind every time. Now we want to begin to say that for somebody that we know, maybe a loved one, maybe a pet, maybe someone that we like but we miss, maybe a friend, a relative, whoever that may be, somebody that we're close to. Could it be somebody who's already passed on? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The souls are still here. They're still kicking around. So, for an example, may Dan abide in perfect love today. May Dan abide in perfect love today. And after you've done that a few times, I want you to think of someone that maybe you don't know so well. Maybe it's just someone you pass on the street. Maybe it's just somebody that you've seen in passing, or you know them sort of, but you don't really know them. Can we wish them the same thing? Can we go, may that person abide in perfect love today, even though we don't know their name? Now, how about this? Maybe someone you really don't like. Think of somebody who maybe they've done you wrong. Maybe you just don't like them. Maybe they've caused some pain in the past. Maybe they are the root of your pain from the past. We're going to breathe in perfect love today. May he abide in perfect love today. And as best you can, think about that person in a loving way. One of the things that I see in America today that really bothers me is the division. What if we were to say, I'm going to think of one thing positive that I can find about the people on the other side, about those people out there that I don't agree with? Just one thing that's positive. Could we do that? Could we wish them perfect love today? Could we wish them that they could abide in perfect love today? In doing that, we abide in, and that's what we're going to get into now. That's what we're going to begin to dive into. But I'm going to ask you a question. Where do you abide? Where do you abide? Now, there's a difference between abide and reside. However, they both come from that same root, if you will. They both come from the root abide. Abide and reside. Reside, of course, is where you live, where you lay your head at night, the place that you call home. But to abide is a little bit different. To abide, the dictionary says, is to act in accordance with. In other words, where I abide is where I come together. Reside is just, that's where I sleep. That's where I lay my head. That may not be the place where I feel connected. Does that make sense? I could reside anywhere, but I can only abide in one place. And that is the true self. And we're going to talk more about the true self and the false self. We mentioned it before, and we're going to talk some more about it. But to act in accordance with. This is a common question. Where do I abide? This is a very common question. If we're going to talk about health and healing and spiritual health. And I have only to open up ideas and thoughts, for example, like, and I've mentioned this person on multiple occasions, but people who have been in concentration camps, or they've been in prison, or they've been different places, and that may be where they reside, but that's not where they abide. There's this story that one of my favorite meditation teachers tells, and the story goes something like this. Long ago, there was a French, I believe it was a Frenchman, and he was done some bad things. He went to court, was sentenced to death. He was on death row, and it was on death row that he learned how to meditate and how to center himself and how to truly abide with himself, how to act in accordance with his true nature and his true self. And the story goes that not long before he was to be executed, a priest came by and said, "Son, would you like last rites? Would you like me to do anything or say anything? Is there anyone that I can carry a message to outside of these gates, a family member, anything?" And he says, "Father, just leave me alone. I'm abiding. I am abiding. I want you to think on that story, especially as we begin to talk about abiding today. I want you to think on that story and think about, where do I abide? Because you see, this is a question we can come back to multiple times a day. And I do, believe me. I've got 2 different check-ins that I do each day. One's at noon and one's at 3:30. Not to mention, of course, my early morning check-in. But the reason I do that is because I want to see if I've lost my abode. I want to see if I am no longer abiding in the center of who I am. And that's easy to have happen. It really is. It's easy to have happen. I think Jesus lost that abide whenever he flipped the temples and the tables. And I think he, at that moment, needed to. Don't get me wrong. But that doesn't mean that he didn't lose that abiding presence in that moment, because he was like going, no, you cannot tell these people they have to pay to achieve something. If someone tells you they've achieved something from a religious standpoint, whether that be to be the Pope or whatever, I don't care. That really concerns me, because that's the kind of unhealed type of people that raised me, and because that's the type of religiosity I was in. And one of the things that I see happening in America today is it's just 2 sides of the same coin. One side says, oh, we have the answers, we are religious. And the other side says, be more open, be like us, be more this, be more that. But it's 2 sides of the same coin. Just live in the mystery. Just be okay with this mystery that we're talking about here today. So, the definition of abide: to act in accordance with our DNA. And oh, by the way, our DNA is divine. Our DNA is divine. Now, the spiritually ascended knew this. They recognized this. They accepted, they embraced it. They were crazy about this. They knew it. They got it. They figured it out. Those were the spiritually ascended. So, what does that look like? Well, for the religious, a lot of times this is masked. In fact, I would say for the ultra-religious, this is always masked. Now, keep in mind that I'm talking about what we see in religion today, 99% of the time. Not the real different type of idea of reunion with the divine. So when I say it was masked, there's this wonderful passage where all of a sudden Moses was wearing a veil. Now Moses had led the children of Israel out, and he had this glowing presence, and everybody said, oh, his glow just resonates with the divine. All of this, they knew that this was a man from God because of that glow. But then one day he lost that glow, but he started wearing a veil. And so many times we go through our entire life wearing a veil that tries to cover the fact that we're no longer abiding. We're no longer centered in our divine DNA that is at the core of who we are. It's at the very core of who we are. In the spiritual, it is the central point of growth. In the spiritual realm, to abide is the central point of growth. Doesn't mean we're always going to be there, because we're not. Times when I get frustrated and angry, and yes, absolutely. In this human form, the easiest thing to lose is our abiding presence of the DNA within. It's the easiest thing to lose. I mean, you thought your car keys were easy. That's nothing, Jack. I got to tell you. Yeah. And once you understand what I'm trying to lay out here today, you'll go, yeah. And there's several reasons for that. But what I want to do is take a look at a few spiritually ascended masters to show you the difference. So the first one I've got down here, because I want to really dive into the second one, but the first one I've got down here is Buddha. Why? Buddha had to leave the palace, had to leave the comfort, had to leave the more. You know, I posted something as Dr. Jesus this last week. I said, It's not, I'm sorry. I said, all we need is love. It's our wants that are killing us. All we need is love, but our wants we are dying for. I want you to think about that for a minute. Eve had all she needed in the garden, but she wanted more. She wanted more. And that's why Buddha had to leave the palace. He had to leave his princely robes behind. He had to leave and go outside of the distractions of more. And there are a lot of distractions with more. I'll give you a classic example. Right now, what do we see? We see an arms race going on in the U.S., well, going on around the world, but in particular between the U.S. and China. Why? Because we got to have more, got to have more, got to have more, got to have more. As long as our comfort is in the physical, as long as our comfort is in the physical realm, we're going to have difficulties. We're going to have difficulties. Don't care who the enemy is within us, because that enemy is telling us we got to have more, got to have more, got to have more. We can't abide with who we are. We got to have more. Just saying. So, to find his center, to get to his abiding place that we're going to talk about with the second one, Ascended Master as well, to get to that abiding place, there was a journey. And there's a journey for all of us. You have to go on the journey to the center, the journey within. Now, our second Ascended Master, Jesus. Jesus talked about the narrow road. Why? Not a lot of people will make it. You know, back in the day, and you still see it, if you go hiking much, if it's a very common trail, it's usually wider, right? It's usually, maybe there's some rocks out of the way, maybe somebody got rid of some of the roots, but it's a wider, more cultivated trail, if you will. And Jesus wasn't talking about the cultivated trail. Because when you start going within, that is a narrow road and a difficult road and a challenging road. Absolutely. Absolutely. But he knew that that path, that road was the road of the divine DNA, the journey to the center of ourselves, where the divine DNA resides. That's abiding, is being in that divine DNA. So this passage tells us, just as we went over last week, so we've come to know and to believe. Remember, we talked about the difference between know and believe. The love that God has for us. God is love. And whoever abides in love abides in God, and God abides in them. And here's the interesting point as we talk about these ascended masters and as we talk more about abiding. Peace that passes all understanding is in abiding in that. That's what that passage is talking about. But that takes the journey. That takes the narrow road. That takes leaving the comfort of the palace, leaving the more that we think we've got to have, when really we've got everything we need, because we got the love from the divine, because the divine DNA is within us. So God is love. Abide. To live in love is to live in our truest self. I want you to think about that. Your DNA is divine. And to live in love is to live in that truest self of the DNA that's within you. And it starts within you. And here's just an encouragement to you. Whatever it takes, weeks to get you to that point of loving yourself first so that you can love others, do it. Absolutely do it. That would be my encouragement to you. Life abundant is in touching our divine DNA. Life abundant is found in touching our divine DNA that is at our core. It is at our core. Finding our divine DNA is the end of fear, because perfect love, God is love, drives out all fear. That's why I said last week, the first message of the good news was, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. We've come to establish a new order. And here's the new order. God is not that box you have to check. God is not that temple that has this massive curtain. That's why the curtain was ripped all the way down the center upon the death of Christ, because the death of Christ recognized and it symbolized that transformation from a works-based mentality to a mentality of the divine DNA within us, the perfect love that's already residing within us. It's already there. It's already there. We just have to recognize it. When Jesus was saying repent, he was saying change your mind, change the way you think, change the way you think from thinking you have to perform for God like some sort of circus monkey to resting in the idea that you are divine because of your divine DNA that's already within you. Rest in that. Rest in that. Life abundant in finding our divine DNA is the end of worry. We have absolutely nothing to worry about. That's why the righteous will not go hungry. That's why the righteous won't go hungry. There's nothing to worry about because you get it. You understand that all souls have divine DNA. We're all going to the same ascended space. It's just that some are going to be in a whole lot more pain while they're here because they won't take the journey. And that's what Ascended Healing Fellowship is all about, taking the journey. Taking that journey to the divine DNA already within you. Already within you. Life abundant in finding that journey and going on that journey within us is Rock of Peace. People used to talk about the solid rock and building your house on sand or building your house in the solid rock. And somewhere there's a song about that. I can't remember it, but I used to love it as a kid. But all that to say, building your house on the solid rock is this: perfect love embraces me always. Perfect love is my true self. Perfect love is my divine DNA, which is within me. That which is within me can never leave me or forsake me. Do you get it yet? Do you understand the magnitude of this? Do you understand how huge this is? This is huge beyond belief. It is phenomenal how huge this is. In fact, it's so huge that I have an assignment for you this week. I'm going to tell you about that assignment. But first, I'd like to pray. I'd like to just spend a minute in prayer. Then we're going to talk about this assignment. And we're going to have some music. Does that sound okay? So let me just pray with us right now. Oh, Divine One, who is perfect love, let us abide in you this week. Let us look for moments when we can see that we abided in you. Let us look forward to moments where we can abide in you. And whatever that takes for us to get there, whatever that takes, whatever journey we have to go on, whatever we have to see about ourselves, about our ancestors, about our beliefs, whatever that looks like, let us rest in knowing that the divine DNA within will never leave us or forsake us, but will eternally embrace us with perfect love beyond human comprehension that embraces our souls eternally, forever and ever, with grace upon grace and mercies that never cease. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so here's your assignment. I want you to listen to Richard Rohr, False Self, True Self. We're going to post that link on the Ascension Healing page of Facebook, and we're going to post that link hopefully with this video, but that's the assignment. It's a YouTube video. that takes you into the idea of a false self that we try to use to manipulate people and manipulate situations and to basically feed the ego, and then the true self. It's really interesting because when Richard Rohr describes this, he often uses the phrase that somebody quotes from somewhere, that the person says, the challenge with heaven is there'll be very little of who you think you are there. There'll be very little of you there. And it's really true, because the you that we think we are is not the you that the divine knows. Think on that this week. Think on that as Jennifer comes in and as we begin to listen to some announcements and hear what's going on and get better connection and listen to some great music. Jennifer, how are you, sis?
That was awesome.
Thank you.
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you so much for everything you said. Like, you said so many important things. I was actually taking notes as you were talking. And I probably shouldn't be doing that during church, but it helps me remember things.
I had to
And-
do that every time during church. I have to do it during everything. I mean, meeting, it doesn't matter. I have to. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. Well, I was definitely taking notes, and I started actually setting up some tweets as reminders for the week, so that
Oh,
when I'm scrolling or anybody else is scrolling, they can hear some of the things that you said. And I just want to reiterate just some of the things that you were talking about that made me think. The breath is the strongest ally you have in meditation. You'll have monkey mind. It's a sign that you need to embrace the little you that's inside that's hurt.
yeah.
And for sure, like, it's very hard to calm the mind. And I know in our last service, you talked about putting the thoughts in the leaves as they go, down the river. And that's
Yeah.
very helpful. So thank you for that. Train yourself not to beat yourself up, train yourself not to live in the past. And I think so many of us do that. And it's so hard to think outside of that box and to talk to ourselves in a nice way.
Yeah,
And
huge. Yeah, absolutely. I spent my
something-
morning meditation doing that because I had a meeting yesterday and I thought, God, that was a really stupid thing to say. And it took me a minute, right? It's something you got to train yourself in. And even if you've trained yourself in, I mean, at dark 30 in the morning without coffee or anything, you can still like go, oh, wow. I just saw that. I just spent the last 5 to 10 minutes just kicking myself in the butt. And you're going, that didn't help me at all,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it just takes you down this, like, negative spiral,
yeah.
and if we do that too many times, then our brain, it becomes more easy for us to fall into these thought
It's a trap.
traps or these
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
cycles.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So,
True.
anyways, thank you for saying all that, and, there's more little tidbits from your talk that'll be coming out this week. So, anybody
Awesome.
out there who's watching, please follow Twitter. I've got, we'll put the assignments on there and everything, and some little reminders during the week. So, thank you,
Awesome.
Pastor Bob.
Really excited about that. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. And thank you. It's great to see. I see your yurt behind you. That's always impresses me. That's quite a sight. In case somebody who's watching doesn't know, Jennifer has an amazing place in Oregon, Southern Oregon. She's starting up some really cool stuff up there. We are starting up some really cool stuff up there. We're going to be able to do some retreats. We're going to be able to do some healing up there. Just phenomenal things. There's some amazing things on the horizon. I can't really say
Absolutely.
much though right now, right? I can't. Is that
Yeah,
it?
it's all coming to fruition. Yes.
Yeah, it's not. It's kind of like Trump and the trade talks right now. He can't say anything, and you
You
wish
can't say
that
anything about anything.
God he would anything, but you're going, when is this guy gonna? I don't know. Anyway, okay, yeah, but yeah,
At least,
so,
yeah. I was gonna
so
say, at
that's
least
the
we won't lead you astray in any way, shape, or form, not intentionally anyway.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
here it is, Ascension Healing Fellowship.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Good call.
Well, thank you everybody for being here, and thank you, Pastor Bob. And if you have any ending words,
Yeah,
this would be the
just,
time.
man, it's love is all we need, and we've already got it. Love is all we need, and we've already got it. And the thing that's killing us, not only as a person, but as a nation, in America. In case you're watching overseas, it's killing other nations as well. But it is the pursuit of more. I firmly believe there's two gods. There's the God who says you got to have more. And there's the God who says, no, just love each other. It's already here. Just love each other. And when you have a person, you go, I can't love that person. They're an asshole. That's the person that you need to grow to love. There's a growth process there. There really is. And I saw that in myself this last week whenever I had a struggle with someone who is close to me. And I thought, oh, you know what caused that is I have a real struggle loving certain religious phrases that I heard, because those are the phrases that really led me astray when I was a kid. And they still stick here.
Yeah.
And they still call, and there's that kind of it's a trap. You're right. It's an absolute trap of like how we were raised. Right. And it's like, it's funny because I noticed that this week as well, because there was like this woman who was standing here and I moved out of the way, but I moved closer to her and she kind of like got in a very defensive position. And it's amazing because you don't really know what's going on inside of someone, And
Very true.
That's like a really interesting. Wow. Yeah. But thank you for all you do. And it's a beautiful thing, a beautiful time. And we got some amazing things coming.
Awesome. That sounds great. We're looking forward to seeing you again Wednesday prayer meeting, 5 p.m. PST.
That'll be great.
All right. Everybody have a wonderful weekend.
All right.
Little light, I'm gonna let it shine all the time, let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine.